Hey everybody, it's ScomletX and welcome back to some more Magic Arena, and today I'm going to be playing my very first Tinkerer's Cube draft of the April 2023 Cube. For those who don't know, Cube is a format where instead of drafting out of a randomized booster pack from one set, we're going to be drafting from a curated list of cards from all over Magic's history. This cube, as it is a Tinkerer's Cube, is going to be focused around a bunch of synergistic and combo-oriented cards. So the name of the game here is taking a bunch of cards that don't do much individually, but getting them to all work together as one cohesive unit. You have cards like Momentary Blink that doesn't really do much by itself, but when you pair it with cards like Blade Splicer, all of a sudden you're going to be getting extra 3/3s off of the card. You can pair it with cards like Spirited Companion to draw additional cards, so on and so forth. There are a lot of very narrow, very focused cards that you can draft around and try to build your decks around here. So it is a pretty high variance cube. I actually prefer the regular Arena cube a lot, because that is a cube of just the strongest cards on Arena, so you just try to draft the best focused archetype as you can. But in the Tinkerer's Cube, you're really trying to get multiple cards to function together greatly, so if you kind of just draw your cards in the wrong order, or don't get paid off with the right card in the draft pod, things can fall apart pretty disastrously, so I'm not the biggest fan of Tinkerer's Cube. However, I am still going to be hopping in and trying to do as much silly nonsense as I can in the coming couple days until the March of the Machine early access event. All cube drafts on Arena are going to be phantom events, so we won't be keeping any of the cards that we draft today. We'll just be playing for the fun of the format as well as the prizes on the tracker. The random card rewards are going to be non-standard cards, so a bunch of stuff to fill out your historic collection. And the gold on the tracker is going to help you break even or get ahead in value at 5 wins or greater. So with the whole Tinkerer's Cube draft information out of the way, let's just get into the draft and see what we get to play with today. Alright, here we are for Pack 1, Pick 1. We've got a bunch of absolute classics, some really fun cards to build around. First of all, we have Gonti, Lord of Luxury, which is just about casting our opponent's cards against them. We don't really need to build around this at all. It's just a pretty fun card in general that I really like playing, so I might just scoop that up. We have a Phyrexian Scriptures for kind of a slow board wipe, but it can save one of your creatures by making an artifact creature. And if you can pick up a lot of artifact creatures, it works pretty well also, but there's not a ton of those in this cube. We've got Goreclaw for just green, stompy aggro stuff, letting our 4 power or greater creatures be 2 less to cast and get +1/+1 trample every time Goreclaw attacks. It's a pretty nice stompy card. Ripjaw Raptor is just a beefy green creature that can draw some cards. A lot of good stuff in the first pack as always in Cube Draft. You're going to find a lot of really powerful cards in most of the packs, especially in Arena Cube, but even in Tinkerer's Cube. Tons of really powerful options early on. I'm just going to go with the Gonti here. I think Gonti's just an absolute classic, and I love them a lot. Being able to just cast stuff from my opponent's library, whatever their best spell is in their top 4, you get to draw that and have a 2/3 Death Touch on board. So we'll take a Gonti to start things off. For Pack 1, Pick 2, Godzilla Doom Inevitable is definitely the coolest looking card in the pack. I don't think it's the greatest card, though. If we can cycle it 4 times in a row, then we do get to put it onto the board for free, which is super awesome. Other than that, 7 mana, 8/8 Trample Haste is just solid. Not incredible, but really fun card. Deadly Dispute's also quite fun. Sack an artifact or creature, draw 2 and get a treasure token. Really good for the sacrifice sort of decks. You can definitely take dual lands really highly in this format so that you can just always take the strongest card in each pack and play a 3 to 5 color pile. But there's also one of the strongest cards in this pack is just Twilight Prophet. 4 mana for a 2/4 with flying and ascend, meaning that we need to have 10 or more permanents. But if we do have 10 or more permanents, we get the City's Blessing, and we get to start drawing a card during our upkeep and draining our opponent for life every time we do that. So I think Twilight Prophet's real strong. Could be a solid follow-up to Gonti here. So we'll scoop that up. For Pack 1, Pick 3, we see some really nice green aggro cards. Pelt Collector's a great 1-drop, and Vorinclex is a great finisher. There's also Sir Conrad the Grim, though, in black. We can just stick to our 1 color for now. This is going to let us mill each player, and every time a creature dies or is put into the graveyard from anywhere, we get to deal a damage to each opponent. So we can drain our opponent for life as we're milling cards or as creatures are trading off. Really, if creatures are dying for any reason, Sir Conrad's doing some great work. So that's interesting. Could be like mono black super self-mill for now. Until we pick our second color. If I wanted to pick a second color right now, I'd probably pick green by the looks of Pelt Collector, Vorinclex, and Inscription being in that pack. But we'll stick to a bunch of black for now. Pack 1, pick 4, we find a Skyfisher Spider, which I guess is a green-black sack card. Mirror March is the most fun card in the pack, but it's also incredibly high variance. Again, this cube in general is incredibly high variance. I think the difference between the strongest cards in this cube and the weakest cards in this cube are pretty astronomical. But yeah, and then you have cards like Mirror March that are literally flipping coins. Yeah, this pack's pretty weak all around. Core Skyfisher is like a decent aggro card that can help me get an Enter the Battlefield effect again. We could pick up a Gonti and replay it. That could be fun. Black-White ETB, or we just take Skyfisher Spider, because they don't put a lot of good removal in the Tinkerer's Cube. So this is probably one of the better removal spells, and we've seen a lot of green last pack, so maybe we'll get a good amount of green here. Now Jadar, Ghoul Caller of Nephalia. That'd be a pretty good card to go with the Skyfisher Spider, because it's going to keep us fueled with those decayed zombies. It can also help fill our board with a bunch of permanents to get to the City's Blessing faster for Twilight Prophet. It also triggers Sir Conrad for life loss, so this synergizes really well with a lot of what we have going on. The one thing I don't like about it is I do have a little bit of self-mill going on with Sir Conrad, and I could jump onto the Thassa's Oracle train and try to mill my entire library, because if I do, I can mill my entire library and then cast a Thassa's Oracle to beat my opponent, which would be a really fun place to go. But I think Jadar has so many synergies with so many different cards that we have already that I'll go with Jadar. It works great with Prophet, Spider, and Sir Conrad, instead of Oracle just working with Sir Conrad. Alright, pack 1, pick 6. Got a Catacomb for blue-black fixing in case I play some blue. Not in love with Pact Weapon. Yeah, draw some cards. Do a little bit of extra damage. It's pretty slow, but it's okay. Thopter Mechanic's fine, but I think I'd rather just grab a dual land if I'm moving towards blue. And Changeling Outcast doesn't do much either, unless you have like a bunch of ninjutsu or ways to really want one creature to keep getting in. I'm just going to take a blue dual just in case. Yeah, I'm not going to try to play enough artifacts for Thran Spider. Alright, pack 1, pick 7. We've got a Cult Conscript, which is another little sacrifice fodder kind of card, so we've got a good start to Aristocrats. We have Skyfisher Spider to sacrifice things, and we have Jadar and Cult Conscript for good things to sacrifice. Yeah, could try to be like Jund, like black, green, red. And get all the cards that want us to sacrifice. Now we have Old Rutstein, which is a decent self-mill value engine. Gonna sit here spitting out treasure tokens, 1/1 insects, and blood tokens based on what we're milling. And fill the graveyard for Conrad, Cult Conscript. Seems fine. I don't like Angel of Suffering a ton. Milling twice as many cards as damage you're taking is pretty scary. Plus it's really low toughness, so it can die pretty easily for a 5-drop. Alright, pack 1, pick 9. None of these red cards are really for a sack deck. I guess Jaxus would be okay in a sacrifice deck, but not super exciting. I think I'd rather just take a dual land for potentially going in that direction. Deadly Dispute's great for a sack deck, and it sticks to black for now, which is definitely in our deck, whereas Blood Aspirant's just okay. Never been very excited about this card in the Tinkerer's Cube, but it's somehow managed to stay in the cube for like 5 iterations in a row. I don't think I've ever drafted it. I think I've only lost to it like 1 time. Pelt Collector is just a solid green aggro card. Since we're heavier into green than anything else as a secondary color, I'm going to take it here. The red-green duel would be fine, though. I wanted to try to get Jund going on. Green, red, black. This is all super filler. Yeah, I guess 2 1/1s for 2 would be okay if we end up sacking a lot of stuff. Ooh! I'm taking Thassa's Oracle over Feldon. Feldon's solid aggressive card if I wanted to be Rakdos aggro, but turning into blue-black self-mill feels like a more fun backup plan. I think both are pretty unlikely to happen. We're looking like we're in a great position for just green-black. But again, it would be a lot cooler to try to mill my entire deck and win off a Thassa's Oracle than it would to just be another generic black-red aggro deck with Feldon. So we are on pack 2, pick 1 now. Mask of Grizzlebrand is okay with all our sack stuff. It's pretty good with our decayed tokens because we can put it on there, gain a couple life, draw a couple cards when it dies, when it sacrifices itself. But there's also Consuming Blob, which feels really good for the green-black deck. 5 mana for 2 X1s. They're going to have power and toughness equal to the number of cards in our graveyard. The number of card types in our graveyard. So we do need to do some self-mill to work with it, but we already have Old Rutstein and some other stuff. I feel like Consuming Blob feels pretty great. And if it sticks around for more than one turn, it's just going to keep making oozes. It's not even just 2 of them for 5 mana. It's going to be more than that if it stays around. Alright, Bootlegger's Stash is glacially slow. Jewel Rail's really good if you have a lot of card draw to keep spitting out cats. I don't think we have a lot. Yeah, and some of our card draw doesn't even count. Like Twilight Prophet doesn't count. Our blood tokens would count, and our Deadly Dispute would count, but that's it for now. I don't think we take Jewel Rail this highly. We could take Tyvar's Stand. This is a pretty great way to protect whatever kind of synergy / combo piece you need from removal for only 1 mana. I'd like to wheel the Takenuma. I don't know how likely that is, but this is a great way to give us a little bit more self-mill, because if we're flooding out, then one of our lands is a nice self-mill value land, but I like Tyvar's Stand here. I think it's just really nice to have a piece of interaction to stop your opponent's removal in a format like Tinkerer's Cube, where getting multiple cards to function together is such a high priority. So now we can take Foul Play here for fine, cheap interaction. There's not really anything else going on, unless I want to take Emery just for self-mill in blue to go with our Thassa's Oracle. I think I'd rather take Foul Play for now. For pack 2, pick 4, we have a bunch of options. I like the green-black duel a lot. Emergent Sequence is fine ramp. Skyclave Shade is theoretically an okay card to keep sacrificing because you can replay it every time you landfall, but its inability to block is a pretty big bummer. I don't think we're going to have anything really big to reanimate with Null Priest of Oblivion, but the backup plan of just being a 2-mana 2/1 Menace lifelink is like super fine. I like the Null Priest. I like all these cards a lot. Skyclave Shade, Null Priest, Emergent Sequence. I don't like Witch the Moors that much. I don't think we have enough life gain for that. I don't think we're really a rampy deck. I'll take the Null Priest. I think it's a nice flexible card. Early game 2-mana 2/1 Menace lifelink is a fine blocker, a fine attacker. Just trade into something, gain a little life, or send it in, gain some life. And it's a really good draw late game. Once a Sir Conrad or Blob has died, we just spend 6 and get 1 back. So I like the flexibility of that. And speaking of flexible cards, Collective Brutality is very nice. Very good cheap piece of interaction where we can -2/-2 a creature. We can also make our opponent discard an instant or sorcery, drain them for some life, whatever we need to do. Shigeki's fine, but pretty slow. I'm going to take Collective Brutality there. Alright, pack 2, pick 6, pretty easy Sedgemoor Witch. I think the Lair of the Hydra is fine as well, but Sedgemoor Witch seems quite nice for this deck, being able to spit out a bunch of potential pest tokens as we're casting instants and sorceries to give us some more fodder to chump block with, or to sacrifice to a Skyfisher Spider or something like that. Not a lot going on here. I guess I'll take the Westvale Abbey. If we manage to get 5 creatures on board, maybe we get a bunch of pest tokens or something, then we can turn this into an absolutely massive win condition. 9/7 flying lifelink indestructible haste. The one really sad part about that is it can get exiled and it can get bounced, and if either of those happen, you're basically guaranteed to lose on the spot because you've just sacked 5 creatures. So you probably sacked your whole board relying on this to kill your opponent, and then if they just go, alright, exile it, then you're just out of cards. You've just lost. Drivnod could be a lot of fun if we get a lot of death triggers. I don't think we have a ton of them though, so I'd probably just take Cold Steel Heart for good mana ramp. Grolnok is some self-mill if we go Sultai all in on the Thassa's Oracle. Feels unlikely, but we could have that option. Take a Llanowar Wastes here. You're not super in love with the treasure production from Forsworn Paladin. It's pretty fine, but I'll just get a dual land. On color. Well, there's an Emery for more self-mill. Doesn't feel like there's a lot of really good self-mill to try to go all the way with Thassa's Oracle, but we're working on it as a backup plan. Yeah, now I've got multiple dual lands to splash blue. Okay, pack 3, pick 1. What have we here? Innocent Blood looks really good for this deck. We've got some expendable decayed zombies, 1/1 pests, 1/1 insects. And if our opponent doesn't have expendable creatures, it's just 1 mana, make them sack a card. Tergrid is pretty sweet if we have a lot of discard and sack. Only for permanents, so Collective Brutality wouldn't work. We actually don't have anything that works with the Witch yet, but if I take Tergrid and then wheel the Innocent Blood, that could be good. And also the Lantern's fine. I don't know, I have 0 cards that synergize with Tergrid so far. That's kind of a big bummer. I think it's probably better to just take the Blood and wheel the Tergrid, because Blood's going to be good in here no matter what. Tergrid's only going to be good in here if I get to scoop up some cards like Innocent Blood. So pack 3, pick 2. What on earth is this thing? Oh, this is one of the Jumpstart cards. I know on Arena, technically, it's one of the Mastery Pass cards. I'm talking about what they created the card for in Paper Magic, what it was designed for. This is for Jumpstart. This doesn't seem incredible. When non-token creatures you control die, you pay 2 life to get a 1/1 toxic version of it. I guess just getting copies of your creatures as they die is always good. Is that better than Triumph, though? I don't know, but I'll take it over Triumph. Ooh, Tireless Provisioner is awesome. Really good landfall effect, giving you a bunch of treasure tokens to dump out your hand quickly. Or food tokens if you need more life. Sling Gang Lieutenant is interesting. It's good if you get a ton of goblins. The idea behind this card in the cube, I suppose, is Maskwood Nexus. So you can sacrifice anything, which is cool, but I'd just rather take Tireless Provisioner right now. Ooh, Shatterfang. Shatterfang's really good if we get the Tireless Provisioner on board with it, because every time we make a treasure, we make a squirrel as well. Feels better than Kells. Well, is it better than Kells? I don't know. Kells, Chatterfang are incredible. Nashi's okay. Nashi's definitely worse than those two. Gargos is also solid, but pretty expensive. I think I'm going to go for Chatterfang here. Chatterfang seems pretty fun. I don't have that much token production, but I have a little bit of treasures, a little bit of pests, a little bit of decayed zombies. Probably enough to get a squirrel or two, often enough to make Chatterfang worth it. Alright, we're pretty low on removal because this cube is really low on removal, so we'll take a Drown and Ichor here over the Ravenous Squirrel. Solid sack card, but I want to have interaction, and I just don't think I have as much as I would want. And Drown and Ichor is really flexible. -4/-4 can kill a lot of stuff. It would be our best removal spell so far. That is how low the cube is on removal. We have Foul Play for power 2 creatures, Brutality for toughness 2 creatures, and Innocent Blood where we don't even get to choose what we target. So yeah, we need removal enough to take Drown and Ichor there. What does Valentine Dean Levine even do? Make copies of your non-token creatures for 2. There's a gain life thing. Also Erebos for a sack deck. Good lord. Hopefully we can wheel one of those. I'm just going to take more removal. I'm going to take the Exile removal of Terra Sunder here. Again, because most of our removal is really narrow and kind of sucks right now. Reclamation Sage against artifacts enchantments. I did just pick up a Terra Sunder, which can exile any permanents. So I think I could take Varagoth over this, just as a really fun boaster to set up our draws. Stone Cold nothing out of that pack. They put Rowdy Crew in the cube? Who designed this? Who designed this cube? Some of the choices in here are actually like concerning. I don't know why. A Rowdy Crew, if you don't know, is historically one of the worst mythics of all time. 2 red and 2 mana for a 3/3. When it enters the battlefield, you discard 2 cards at random, and if they shared a card type, you get like 2+1/+1 counters on it or something. It's like really bad. I guess it's for madness or something because they put Avison's Judgment in here. But I mean, it's really... I don't understand that inclusion. All right, let's put a card in the sideboard because we're running out of black and green stuff to pick up. We did wield a Slinging Lieutenant, which might get played in here. It works with Chatterfang, and it is 3 chump blockers. We did wield a Kel's Fight Fixer now, which definitely works in here. Another sack outlet. 1 mana to sack a creature and an additional mana to draw a card off of sacrificing it. It's a real late Unholy Heat. Solid removal spell for a red deck. Now this is a very Tinkerer's Cube mana curve as well. They gotta make sure you can't aggro people out, so everybody gets to do their tinkery nonsense. Alright, so we're gonna cut 4 cards out of the deck and call it there. We're at 19 creatures, 8 non-creatures, so we're definitely gonna cut a couple creatures. How much life gain do I have for the Witch of the Moors? Probably not enough. Alright, that's a lifelinker. This can drain our opponent for life, but that's 1 time. This can make a pest token. This can drain our opponent for life. This, if we've ascended. This is if it dies. That's paying life. That's also paying life. So that's like 5 potential ways, and a lot of them are really narrow, like just when this dies, just when we have 10 or more cards, just if I choose to drain my opponent instead of using this as a removal spell, or if I discard an additional card to drain my opponent. I feel like that's inconsistent enough to make Witch of the Moors just bad in this deck. That's the first cut. I feel like Tergrid's probably also bad because it would only be for Tergrid's Lantern, which is a fine finisher, but I think I have better finishers with like Kinzu and Sir Conrad and Blob. Let's see. Sacrifice. How many ways do I have to make my opponent sacrifice? 1. And that's it. How many ways do I have to make my opponent discard a permanent? 0. So yeah, this is 100% always the Lantern, or a 5 mana 4/5 with no text. So Tergrid and Witch definitely don't make the cut. And that puts us down to 17 creatures, which is where that's like the top end of a good amount of creatures here, so we can cut whatever we want between creatures and non-creatures. I feel like I'm still just going to cut more creatures because I like all my non-creatures fine, spreading them out like that, taking a look at them. I think they're all fine. I'll just cut a couple more creatures. Probably some at 4 mana because I've got a lot of that. I mean, Varragoth is our slowest creature in the whole deck. A 3-drop that doesn't do anything till it attacks, and at that point we have to spend 2 more mana to do it. But yeah, I really have a lot of 4 mana creatures here. Drop Kells and Varragoth. I'm gonna cut Varragoth. I feel like I don't have any sack outlets outside of Kells. And it's pretty nice to have one with Old Rutstein, with Chatterfang. I guess Chatterfang can sack squirrels, but with Jadar. I really like Kells in here. Maybe we'll just have an awkward curve, because I don't really want to cut Slinging Lieutenant either. It's very fun with Chatterfang, and just 3 1/1s to chump block with for 4 is fine. Especially when I gain life every time I chump block. And we'll just go for the awkward curve here. So I just go for super awkward curve and cut Cold Steel Heart as the last card. That's a way to get an artifact engraved too, though, if I mill it. My 1 artifact for my consuming blob card types, come on. We can't lower the consuming blob card types. Gonti might be the worst card at this point, but Gonti is like one of my favorite cards, just in terms of fun value. Take a peek at my opponent's deck, see how good it is. I guess Gonti is probably not as good in Tinkerer's Cube when we're going to hit something like a Spirited Companion with no ways to flicker it. If our opponent is a very synergy-driven, focused deck, this is going to find some nonsense that doesn't really synergize with our deck a lot of the time. Yeah, I mean, that's fine. We'll cut Gonti. R.I.P. R.I.P. Pack 1, Pick 1. This looks pretty fun. We've got a lot of random different things working together, and that's kind of what you want. In the Tinkerer's Cube, how's the mana base looking? 16 black cards, 8 green. I don't know why we have more green than black right now then. We'll swap that around. 9 black sources, 8 green. Seems good to me. Might still even be a little high on green, or only double green cards consuming blob. Yeah. I won't Pelt Collector turn 1 every game, but that's okay. We'll go 7 green sources, 10 black sources. Obviously the Westvale Abbey kind of makes the mana base a bit worse here. Having to be 10-7 instead of 10-8 if we didn't have the Abbey. But I think the Abbey's worth it. It's just a strong card in general. So I am going to call it a deck there now that I have edited the mana base. That is going to be the deck. Alright, here is a look at the completed deck list for today. We are on a Golgari garbage pile. We've got a bunch of different synergies going on, as you're going to have in the Tinkerer's Cube. A bunch of different nonsense. We have a bit of self-mill with Old Rutstein and Sir Conrad the Grim. And we have Null Priest of Oblivion that can reanimate something from our graveyard, Cult Conscript that can come back from our graveyard naturally, and Consuming Blob that profits off of having a bunch of different card types in our graveyard. We also have a bunch of Sacrifice as well as ways to make some tokens. We have the Cult Conscript that can keep coming back to get sacrificed. We have the Jadar that can make tokens that are expendable to sacrifice. Sedgemoor Witch makes tokens to sacrifice. Chatterfang makes tokens to sacrifice. Old Rutstein, Sling Gang, all of those. And the main sacrifice card is Kel's Fight Fixer that can start sacking them to draw cards, or is going to let us draw cards if we're sacrificing them in other ways as well. So if we sack a goblin to the Sling Gang, then we can use Kel's to draw a card without having to pay the mana to sack it to Kel's as well. Same with if we sacrifice any squirrels to the Chatterfang, we can spend the 1 mana for Kel's to draw the card there as well. With all this token production, we have a couple other synergies. With all the token production, we can get a pretty wide board state with a lot of permanents pretty easily to trigger Twilight Prophet early and get the extra card draw off of that. We can also sack the tokens to Skyfisher Spider. And with a bunch of token production, we're going to be spitting out a bunch of extra squirrels with the Chatterfang Squirrel General. So a lot of just varying synergies there between all of those cards, which is going to be pretty fun. For our non-creature cards, that is where things get pretty basic. We just want a lot of ways to interact to try to stop our opponent from getting anything to synergize too well on their board. We have Terra Sunder to exile anything, Foul Play to destroy a creature's power 2 or less, Drown an Ichor to -4/-4 creature. Deadly Dispute is just card draw for us. Collective Brutality is another card that can kill some smaller creatures or make our opponent discard an instant or sorcery. And Innocent Blood can make each player sack a creature. So ideally we end up sacking a 1/1 and they sacrifice something big. We also have Tyvar's Stand to help keep whatever important creature we have on board. If we're trying to finish them off with Consuming Blob or Sir Conrad, we can use this to protect one of those and maybe get some extra damage in. And if we're just trying to get things set up and get some combos going, we've got some token production alongside a Chatterfang or something. We can use this to protect that Chatterfang. So pretty consistent, pretty synergistic deck today. A lot of varying things that could go right or wrong together if we draw them in the correct or incorrect order. Definitely what your average Tinkerer's Cube draft deck is going to look like. So pretty excited to see how things go. Hopefully things will all fall together rather than falling apart, but we'll find out soon enough as we head into the gameplay. Here we are for game one. Our opponent is on the play. I'll keep the hand. We have Cult Conscript into Chatterfang. We don't have anything good to sack to Innocent Blood. I could sack the Conscript, which is fine, but I have no way to bring it back yet. We're hoping to draw into some kind of token production. That will make the Chatterfang and the Innocent Blood better. Opponent's going to start things off with a turn 2 Time Stream Navigator that they can use to get an extra turn later. If they have the City's Blessing, they'll put it on the bottom of their library and get an extra turn. So that can be pretty scary later. I don't think I want to Collective Brutality it immediately. Oh, they're even just going to trade. Well, then I definitely don't want to Collective Brutality it. Since they're on blue, I think I could Brutality their hand and pretty likely find a card. So let's go Instant Sorcery, hope for the best. No, it's all creatures and an enchantment. Well, that obviously didn't work well. They've got a Tameshi they can use to recur any artifacts or enchantments, but the only card in their grave is a creature. They've got an Agent of Treachery on 7 mana. They're 3 color, they're blue, green, white here. Alright, well, Touch the Spirit Realm is going to kill Chatterfang. Alright. Well, obviously missing on Collective Brutality is pretty horrible, but it is what it is. Oh, I wish I had another black source here. I could play Jadar and Innocent Blood in the same turn and just immediately kill Tameshi. I guess I can play Chatterfang and Innocent Blood next turn. If they don't kill Jadar here, that'll be really good. Because it's not like they can pick anything up with Tameshi yet from their graveyard. So we're all good. Oh wow, yeah, they're not going to touch the Spirit Realm here. Then I guess they are going to kill Chatterfang with Touch the Spirit Realm. But that's only at sorcery speed, so we can get at least a 1/1 by playing Chatterfang now. And having Jadar give us another zombie. Oh, I just realized I couldn't even Jadar Innocent Blood last turn anyway, because Jadar spits them out at the end step, not the combat step. I don't know why I thought Jadar spit them out at the combat step. Okay, so now we Innocent Blood. Then we have to sack the zombie to the Innocent Blood instead of to its decayed trigger. They didn't save Tameshi. That was probably a misplay. Alright. That was very weird timing for Nyambi. That was probably just a misplay. Because they could have saved Tameshi and sacked Nyambi instead. Or they could have like surprise traded into Jadar there. Alright, well I need to Cold Steel Heart for black. To get the Sir Conrad and Twilight Prophet mana. We'll send the attack in. If the squirrel or the zombie dies, we get to bring Cult Conscript back. So either way, Cult Conscript's going to hit the board here, which is nice. They're on 4 mana with a 7-drop in their hand and a Thassa's Oracle. So on board, looks like we're just beating down right now. It all really depends on what they draw into. Alright, they are going to take the damage, Zombie's going to sacrifice itself, and we can get the Cult Conscript back, as well as another zombie from Jadar. Displacer Kitten is the play. If they get a good Enter the Battlefield effect on the board, we're going to have a really rough time. Like if they make it to the Agent of Treachery mana, that'll be horrific. They're at 5 out of 7 though, so we're fine for now. But yeah, every time they play a non-creature, they get to flicker one of their cards. Sir Conrad feels like the most aggressive card to play. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I guess I'm at 10 permanents for Twilight Prophet though, which is really, really appealing. Yeah, I'm actually just going to get that City's Blessing and start drawing additional cards. They're down to 13 now. Just play Sir Conrad next turn and probably finish them off. That is the 6th out of 7th mana to try to get to the Agent of Treachery. They are going to play Thassa's Oracle. Lets them put one of the cards into their hand? No, put one on top, the rest on bottom, thank goodness. They don't get to just immediately draw the card here. Alright, Twilight Prophet did not hit a non-land card, so we don't drain any life, but Westvale Abbey's still a pretty cool card. I don't think I'm playing it right now. I don't think I'm sacking all my creatures right now to get a 9/7. If I had played Sir Conrad last turn and then drawn Westvale Abbey, though, that would have been lethal right there, because we would have Sir Conraded for 1,000,000. Yeah, I think I play Sir Conrad. Next turn I'm just going to flip an Abbey and go to town. Yeah, if they just go land Agent of Treachery, we definitely can find lethal on our next turn by flipping the Abbey. They lose like 5 life to Sir Conrad, then they take 9 damage in the sky. I guess unless they take our Abbey, but then we can just find lethal with the creatures we currently have. I guess if they take Sir Conrad, they also survive barely. If I hit a land off of Twilight Prophet, they live. Okay, that's a non-land, so they're dead. We just do the Abbey. Boom. And they scoop them up to the Westvale Abbey, Ormondal, Profane Prince, or whatever its name is. I think it's something like that. It's going to find us the victory there against the Agent of Treachery. We're going to start this draft off 1-0 as we head into round 2. Here we are on the play for game 2. Keepable hand, kind of a slow one, but we don't have a lot of 1 and 2 mana cards in the deck, period. Doesn't seem like there's a lot of great 1-2 mana cards in the cube in general. Trying to keep it a little slower, give people the breathing room to do all their fancy nonsense. So Cold Steel Heart for the second black source for the Twilight Prophet. Fingers very crossed for no removal from our opponent. Is it worth even just playing? If I draw any cheaper creature, I think I'll play it, but if the option is to play nothing or play the Twilight Prophet without protection, I think I'll play the Prophet without the protection here. Alright, Old Rutstein is an option of playing literally anything else, so we will do that. This way, since I'm waiting 1 turn, I can get the Prophet down next turn and have the Tyvar stand to protect it, which feels really good. Plus, Old Rutstein works really well with the Prophet, because Rutstein's going to guarantee we're getting more permanents on the board no matter what we mill. We're getting some kind of token. We're getting a 1/1 or a blood or a treasure. So we're getting towards the Ascension, towards the 10 permanents on board. 6 permanents already, 7th from playing a land, 8th from Rutstein's ability. Yeah, we're going to be really close. 10 really quickly. There's a Kappa Tech Wrecker for our opponent, 2 mana 1/3 Death Touch. We can exile our Cold Steel Heart if it deals damage to us. So I may end up wanting to chump block with my 1/1 Insect rather than losing my Cold Steel Heart. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Can I order these in the way that the Twilight Prophet will work? I think I can, if I don't lose any creatures here. Could have sacked the treasure to make the Cold Conscript, but it hits the board tapped. So I'm just going to keep the permanent count a little higher. You are absolutely not gaining control of that, good lord. That would be horrendous. Well, now we have an indestructible Twilight Prophet to block the Kappa Tech Wrecker if they send that in. Okay, I guess I can't order the triggers, because this trigger only goes on the stack if I already had the City's Blessing. So we do miss 1 card draw there. Did I mill any creatures yet? I did mill a Sling Gang Lieutenant. I can pick that up with the Null Priest by sacking my 2 treasures. I've already got City's Blessing, so even if I go below enough cards, it still counts. Actually, Consuming Blob is a 3/4. Could get 2 3/4s, or I can get 3 goblins. Let's get some 3/4s. Consuming Blob is fun. get the 3/4s going. Old Rutstein is really, really nice in this deck. It's doing so many different synergies. Like, it works with Chatterfang by spitting tokens on board. It works with Twilight Prophet by spitting tokens on board. It works with Consuming Blob and Null Priest of Oblivion by milling ourselves. Really cool to see all the cross synergies of some of the cards. Alright. The order doesn't really matter at this point. I guess it depends on what's on top of our library. If I knew what was on top, the order would matter. Alright, looks like the order was correct. We drew the land and then, or we milled the land and then drew the non-land, which is what we wanted. If I pick up Sling Gang, then the blobs are smaller now. It's a little interesting. I think I'll foul play the Cap Attack Wrecker. To get the Death Toucher out of the way for some blobs to start attacking. They have their own Tyvar stand. I know the card well. Oh, the blobs are bigger now too, because I just put a sorcery engrave. Sick. I could Innocent Blood my 1/1 for their Butler, but then they just pick up Rutstein, which doesn't feel good. I don't think I'm casting this Innocent Blood. I think I'm just sitting here on Twilight Prophet value until I want to flip a Westvale Abbey later. I could crack Null Priest just to get the Sling Gang to have 3 more creatures to flip the Westvale Abbey. I guess I don't need to hold up all this mana anymore. Yeah, I've got a million creatures to flip Westvale Abbey now. If they don't have a board wipe, our position's getting really, really strong. Ooh, speaking of really, really strong, Ishkana Graph Widow is going to spit out a ton of blockers here because they have Delirium. So they have a 3/5 reach and 3 1/2s with reach. Well, I mean, an indestructible flyer doesn't really care about all those. It doesn't have trample, but still gain us 9 life every turn. Let's do the do. There's Ormondal, Profane Prince. Oh, we're definitely not attacking with Twilight Prophet anymore. That would have been a really bad attack. Alright, so we're up at 31. That's the turn. I'm getting a... we're in such a mirror match here. We don't have the blue mana, but there's the Consuming Blob. I was going to say, I'm getting to a point where the only thing that I think really stops me is either I mill out or they board wipe, so I don't really want to overcommit to the board and get milled out. They're at 10 life, and Twilight Prophet's going to keep making them lose life every time I hit a non-land card. So I think Skyfisher, kill the Graph Widow seems pretty good, and then keep attacking them in the sky. Still don't want an Innocent Blood. I could play a Conscript alongside this, though, since even if they board wipe, that can come back. Engrave. Also, I could sack that, because it hits the board tapped anyway. So now they have 2 power that can block flyers, so I can send in Twilight Prophet as well. Alright, they're down to 8. Well, there's the board wipe. They get to pick up their Ishkana now. Wait, they're just... Depending on what the next spell is, they might have just died from doing that because our blobs all live. We need a solid follow-up. Oh my god, so much of our board lives. They need a really good follow-up. So they pick up Ishkana, but they don't have the mana to cast them. Alright, they just scooped them up. That was just them showing off the one board wipe that they had, but it was not good enough to kill a lot of our board. Consuming Blob spit out a lot of massive creatures to survive that. So really cool stuff from the deck altogether. We're going to be 2-0 now as we head into game 3. Very nice start. All right, here we are on the play for game 3. Nothing till turn 3, but what else is new with this deck? We'll keep it. Try to get that Twilight Prophet down again. Ooh, there's a Deadly Dispute. That is the first instant or sorcery to get cards off of the Sedgemoor Witch, but I need to find another expendable card to sacrifice to the Dispute first before I can cast it. Because if I cast it, I have to choose what I sack when I cast it before the Witch triggers, so I can't sack the Pest that the Witch makes. Glass Casket, well... Goodbye, Sedgemoor Witch. It's not horrible for us. Ooh, especially if I draw Terra Sunder. I can save the Witch for 2 mana if I want. Or I could just play a Twilight Prophet. I feel like I'd rather play Kells, because I don't have anything good to do with Kells here, except for just attack as a 4-power menace creature. And Twilight Prophet's not at City's Blessing anytime soon. So I would rather get removal drawn on Kells, and if they don't have removal, Kells is still the better play because they attack more aggressively. Old Steel Heart. We're just going to attack in, holding up Terra Sunder. Just straight up hit for 4, put them to 12. Alright, let's Cold Steel Heart for our second green in case we draw our blob and stuff like that. And then hold up Terra Sunder, Deadly Dispute. If they use removal spell, I'll dispute. If they don't, we can Terra Sunder. If I let this resolve, I draw 1 card. If I sack it, I draw 2 and get a treasure. But then I've used my dispute. I think I'll just draw the 1 card and save the dispute. Tear Glass Casket in the end step, and then whenever I do dispute, I get a Pest as well for extra value. Taking 3 from Urtai. Let's see if they allow me to tear some ass. Nope. Flip the switches in this game. Okay. Well, they're tapped out since I did that in their end step. Not really. I mean, they have 1 blue mana up, but that's not going to counter anything. Jadar's pretty good with dispute. I take most of my mana though. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, Jadar's good with Dispute and Skyfisher Spider, so I think I'm going to play the Jadar here. If I play Spider, I have to sack like Cold Steel Heart to kill the casket right now, which doesn't feel great. I think I'm going to play Jadar. And now if they try to remove Jadar with removal, we can dispute sacking Jadar. And then I can Skyfisher Spider sacking the zombie to kill anything, which is going to be Liliana now instead of Glass Casket. I guess I could kill Urtai instead of Liliana and then kill Liliana with the zombie by sacking the treasure to the Skyfisher Spider. No, Spider only sacks creatures. Dang. This was in Brothers War too. I'm so used to the Brothers War cards letting you sack an artifact or creature so you could sack the Power Stone, but Skyfisher Spider cannot sack the Power Stone. Well, I mean, I do need to kill Liliana. We each discard a card every turn. That's not the worst ability over the next few turns. I'm fairly certain this is the line, though. Just get that Liliana out of here.
I'll be back.
If I crack this treasure for Twilight Prophet, I have 6, 7, 8, 9 permanents. So we'll play Rutstein. Alright, now I will definitely have City's Blessing from Rutstein triggers. New blood token to draw a card now. Oh, this is a green source? I probably should have discarded the forest then. Sling Gang. We've got mana up for a counterspell now. Probably sling some gangs first. Because that should draw a counterspell, because if it resolves, we have enough permanents to flip the Westvale Abbey next turn. Yeah. So it draws the counterspell, so Twilight Prophet now resolves. Hopefully. And then we cross the fingers for no removal. If they had removal now, they'd have it if I waited a turn to play Twilight Prophet, so jam that thing out. Alright, no removal. These are some real good abilities to try to take over the game with. Rutstein Prophet. Boom, and Shatterfang shoots the face, and we draw some non-land cards. Shatterfang's really good with old Rutstein as well. Kinzu's pretty great. If our non-token creatures die, we can just bring them back as tokens. Alright, they're going to scoop them up while I'm thinking there. I think I was going to Kinzu pre-combat in case they draw into any removal. Then when they cast the removal, we still get copies. And then play Shatterfang as well. Yeah, we've got the mana to play both, so we'll just play both. But turns out they just don't have anything left in hand that's going to affect that game, so they're going to scoop them up, and we're going to be 3-0 as we head into game number 4. Alright, here we are for game 4. No black source is pretty rough, but if I draw any land, a turn 3 Shatterfang is always nice. If I hit 2 lands and one of them is a black source, turn 3 Shatterfang, turn 4 Sling Gang is nuts, so I'm going to get a little bold with the keep here. We could definitely get punished for it and just lose, but if we hit a couple lands, then this hand is really, really good. There's the first land. It's not the black source, but it guarantees the turn 3 Shatterfang, which is nice. Now all we need to do is hit a swamp in our next 2 draw steps, and we'll be golden. I'm not going to have the mana to hold up Tyvar's stand to protect Shatterfang next turn or the turn after, ideally, so I think I will just protect the Pelt Collector, because it also counters their card draw of the clue token there. Play the Shatterfang pre-combat to buff the Pelt Collector. Yeah, the thinking there again is that I'm always just going to slam down Shatterfang now, and if I hit a swamp, then just slam down the Lieutenant. And that means if they have a removal spell for Shatterfang, I can't protect it this turn or next turn anyway. So, might as well send it in there. Should I trade into Tatsunari with Shatterfang? I've got no more token production in hand. I guess I have a Deadly Dispute, so I probably shouldn't. Yeah. Let's just keep going for maximum Chatterfang value. This is already just nuts. This is already really dumb. Alright, they can just exile Chatterfang now. So yeah, we wouldn't have had the Tyvar stand up here even if I kept it in my hand. Alright, so Innocent Blood is pretty phenomenal here. I think I'd rather Innocent Blood than Drown an Iker. I guess I only have one black source, so I have to Deadly Dispute first, which means I'm attacking with one less creature, but it is what it is. Sack the Squirrel because the goblins can die to the Sling Gang, so they're more valuable. Ooh. Can only play one card here. Yeah, I'm just gonna Innocent Blood while they only have one creature on board. If we hit a land next turn, we can dump so many cards out. We'll have 6 mana? I guess that's not everything. Alright, so we'll drown that Twilight Prophet in Iker for sure. Didn't hit a land, which means I can only play one spell, but that's okay, we'll just drown that. Yeah, if I hit a land, I could have played Provisioner into Landfall Treasure Token and in a really good spot. We're still in a great position, though. They're down to 6, facing 6 power. 3 of my creatures I can sack to drain my opponent for a life. They have 6 mana up now, though, and there are some pretty explosive plays that they could have. They're going to go for Braid's Arisen Nightmare and Dockside Chef. That is multiple blockers. Braids can let them sack a land in the end step, so I lose to when they draw a card, or I sack a land of my own. I can't really afford to sack a land here, so they get their card draw. Okay, we hit a land now, so I can go Provisioner, Land, Treasure Token, Jadar. And I think our win condition here is going to be reanimating Sling Gang to the Null Priest. It's most likely what we're going for. So send in the squad, sacrifice all the goblins that get blocked, and then next turn Null Priest can pick up Lieutenant thanks to the treasure token. So they're at 3, and I can pick up the Sling Gang and sack 3 goblins to do 3 to them. I'll have 5 goblins total, so even if they gain a couple life. Oh, but that'll gain them 3 life, and give them a bunch of blockers. Well, I guess I flip Westvale Abbey then? That's still lethal, right? Yeah, that's definitely still lethal. Does change my line, though. Alright, and there is the concession. The gigantic 9-power flying, life-linking, indestructible creature is going to get us yet another victory. And we are now 4-0. We're 1 win away from breaking even and actually just straight up being in the money because we just get to leave with some extra rares. So really nice way to start off the Tinkerer's Cube drafts. Heading into game number 5. Alright, here we are for game 5. Old Rutstein Chatterfang is always ridiculous. Especially Chatterfang. As we've said many times before, Chatterfang is pretty nuts. Now we've got a Skyfisher Spider to deal with an opposing threat later. They have a forest on board, so I'm tempted to just play Chatterfang first, because Rutstein does give us a token right on ETB. So we get to play Chatterfang, then play Rutstein next turn, enter the battlefield, make a squirrel, and whatever token the Rutstein gives us. And of course Chatterfang's unblockable right now because they have a forest on board. So the Forest Walk coming in hot. Unless they kill Chatterfang immediately, which is possible. But the alternative here, playing old Rutstein first, they might just not kill Rutstein, and then next turn when I play Chatterfang, they can still kill Chatterfang before I get a squirrel. Yeah, Fire Prophecy it is. Fair enough. Very sad, but very fair. Okay. Really have a reason to Skyfisher Spider. The Cap Attack Wrecker. Oh, also it can't sack itself anyway, so yeah, we just play Rutstein. Get a blood token and pass the turn. Mantle of the Wolf. Make the Cap Attack Wrecker monumental. Massive death-touching dork. Still only gets to exile one artifact or enchantment, but that does hit us really hard. Ooh, Twilight Prophet. Still no creatures to sack to the Skyfisher Spider. From old Rutstein over there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Not enough permanence yet. Just play Kinzu then. I'm not loving this position. Dispute doesn't add any permanence because we have to sack a treasure and then replace the treasure. But I can afford to dispute and play Twilight Prophet, but it'll just be a non-ascended Twilight Prophet. That might be worth it here. We might just have to be digging for some outs right now, rather than just playing a Kinzu. Although if we play Kinzu into Twilight Prophet, we can try to just get them with flyers, especially if we could get some insects out from old Rutstein. Yeah, I'm unsure here. I'm just going to go for the Kinzu. Rutstein already doesn't block Tech Wrecker, so might as well get 1 damage and make it a little bit easier to try to find lethal with flyers. Vorinclex Monstrous Raider. Alright, we're pretty dead. Gigantic 6/6 Trample Haste. Speed the clock up a bit. Just a little bit. Still no insects from Rutstein. He's kind of devastating. Could Skyfisher sacrifice Rutstein, blow up Vorinclex, lose 2 life to Kinzu to get a duplicate of Rutstein to have more blockers and get the ETB effect again? And have 2 blockers up. potentially a third blocker up. If I get an insect this time on the enter the battlefield effect. No insect. I do have the treasure tokens to play Brutality to drain my opponent for 2 life. Kill the Sanctum Weaver. Probably better than Deadly Dispute here right now. Makes it less likely they find lethal. Discard the Deadly Dispute here. Yeah, give me a little bit of breathing room and hit them a little harder. Let's only hit them for 5 on the crackback. Maybe I don't do the life drain. Keep the dispute for card draw. I think I definitely kill the Sanctum Weaver. Alright, let's find out. We'll see how this panned out for us. I'm sitting at 2 life, which is horrifying. Life drain would get us out of the range of like a lightning bolt, but I can't imagine they put lightning bolt in this cube. But they could have put some other kind of life drain. I keep Rutstein for the ability to potentially get more chumps. Plus Skyfisher gains us 1 life when it dies. Oh, if I gained the life, I could have gotten a duplicate here, which would have been cool. I wouldn't have done the ETB effect, because then they'd get some wolves, which is bad. I guess I could have killed the mantle. Yeah, maybe I should have probably drained them with Brutality as well, discarding Deadly Dispute. So I had the life to use Kinzu again. Might still be okay though. Looks like they're just playing a bunch more creatures on the ground, so if I can keep chump blockers, Kinzu can try to race them. Tyvar's Stand? Oh my god. Green, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oh my god. That's 11. Okay. Alright, Tyvar's Stand. I see how it's going. I see how you're doing. Ooh. I would not be having a good day if I was in my opponent's shoes that game. That was a tremendously lucky way to end that game. Pretty happy with how I played that out in the end. Overall, I think I probably should have went for the life drain on the Defiance and just got rid of the draw spell there. But yeah, playing that Kinzu early really panned out for us to be able to keep finding these crackbacks to get towards that lethal there. So there you go. We're at 5 wins. We are in the money no matter what. We're getting all of our gold back out of the event and getting some random rare rewards alongside it. So you'll love to see it. 5-0 heading into round 6 now. Kinzu, really cool, really strong card. Happy we got to play with her that game. Alright, here we are on the play. We definitely need to draw 1 land, but 1 land gives us Rutstein and Provisioner. Both are cards that can potentially spit some more treasure tokens out to help us out. And they're both, well, especially Rutstein is just like one of the strongest cards in our deck for the amount of cards that it synergizes with. Our opponent's going for turn 1 Recruitment Officer. That has got to be one of the most aggressive cards in the cube. We'll just foul play that immediately. Don't expect to see a lot of 1-mana 2/1s in the Tinkerer's cube, but there it is. Yeah, Boros, gonna be scary. We'll play the Rutstein first. I'm gonna wait to play Provisioner until I know I have a 4th land in hand. Alright, and Rutstein immediately gets an Insect, which is pretty nice. Especially with Skyfisher Spider in hand, that is incredibly valuable. Our opponent is going to Perflos's Intervention to immediately just blow up old Rutstein. We do hit the land for Provisioner, but if I go for Provisioner land, then I don't get to just play Kells as a 4/3 menace right now. And I kind of do have enough mana. Although I'd be playing a Kells without a Tyvar stand-up. But if they just play another removal spell, then they're not playing aggressive Boros creatures, which is good. I'm just going to go for Kells. Seems okay to me. Alright. Yeah. cool with me. Keep them from dropping more creatures down. Good brutality to see what's going on in their hand, but I feel like it's pretty likely they don't have any instants or sorceries left. And then that just plays out really not well at all. We'll play Provisioner and hold up stand. If they do have another instant or sorcery left that they want to try to kill Provisioner with, then we can counter it. Winota is the play. Alright, well, I couldn't have done anything about that. That is really threatening. When their non-humans attack, they look at the top 6 and put a human out for free. They don't have any non-humans on board yet, so we're okay for now. And I think we have enough life total. I'm going to just get treasures for now towards this Tyvar stand being insane. Could Skyfisher Spider the Winota? I do still hold up Tyvar's stand. Yeah, and I get an attack in here. I guess it is worth it. Even though I'm not that scared of Winota, just getting her out of the way as a blocker is solid. The only way that Winota crushes us there is if they have a non-human with haste, then we would have had a really bad time, probably. Lauren of the Third Path, goodbye. Clue. Psych. I'm going to draw a card. But goodbye, treasure. Drown in Ichor is the draw. Not the greatest, but I guess it lets me use my brutality and still have removal up. I should have kept that land and just drained them for 2. I'm really bad at collective brutality. I have to discard a card to kick it. That's too much. Too difficult. Not gonna happen. I threaten lethal with Tyvar's stand here. They've got something, but it might just be Garrison. I feel like I have a safe enough hand. I don't need to stand here. But also I have a safe enough hand that even if they have a response to Tyvar's stand, I'll be fine. Alright. Yeah, like even if they're 1 card in hand as a removal spell, then they're playing off the top. We have a 3/2 and a removal spell to kill whatever creature they play next. We're still in the lead. And if their hand isn't exactly 1 instant speed removal spell, then they just die on the spot. So just go for it there. We are 6-0 now, 5,000 gold and 3 cards as the prize, heading into the potential final boss, but we've got 3 attempts at it if we fail the first run. So without further ado, potential final game of Magic here. Let's go. Chatterfang Provisioner is a really fun combo. I think the way we do it is we go Provisioner, then we go Chatterfang Land. That's the idea. We'll play a Swamp and be ready to Innocent Blood if they play any aggressive creatures. Alright. They did not play a creature, so we're not going to be Innocent Blooding. Now I can play Provisioner in a land immediately. Spicy. Shredded Sails, my mana rock. Never mind. I lied. Can't go Provisioner landfall. Threeben Inspector. Very good card. 3 mana, 1/2 draw a card is how they're going to play it here. Alright, there's the land. Now we get to do some very good stuff as well. I get to go Chatterfang. Then I get to go Landfall. Then I get to go Treasure and Squirrel. Then I get to Innocent Blood, kill the Inspector. That part I'm not actually excited about. We're not going to do that part. I lied. I think we can get a better Innocent Blood later than just killing a 1/2. Tyvar stand has been a huge MVP. Like, could you imagine we had Tyvar stand here? That would ruin this line so much. Well, it wouldn't ruin it, but it would turn us from losing the game to winning the game, because this probably kills us. This is a really big 2-for-1 removal spell. And I can't do anything about it. I guess I could sack Chatterfang and my Squirrel to kill Inspector. Chatterfang's gonna die anyway. And the Squirrel can't get into the Inspector regardless. And I don't love it, but... It's probably worth it here. Alright, 4-3 Menace, let's go. Hellish Norn. That's a little bit more powerful than most of the cards in my deck. Kind of a nightmare. I guess I need to tear that asunder. I guess if they don't have a good ETB effect to follow it up, I don't need to, but they already played a Thraben Inspector. They probably drafted around Hellish Norn a bit. And most of the cards in this cube do have solid enter the battlefield effects. A lot of them do. I feel like it'd be pretty likely things go bad for us if we let them keep that Hellish Norn. So here's Experimental Synthesizer, exile a card. They hit a Rabble Rousing. They have to play the land to play it, but they do get to play that. If they play that, they're not putting any creatures on board, which means they just take another 4. So yeah, they're going to play Scroll Wielder instead. Go to our turn, we just hit a land. Scroll Wielder, how does this work? Beginning of your upkeep, exile an instant or sorcery at random. Shredded Sails or Mythos. If they hit Mythos, they get to kill Kells or Twilight Prophet. Do I Innocent Blood and draw a card off of sacking Kells, kill the Scroll Wielder, and then play Prophet? Maybe. 5, 6, 7 permanents. Still don't have the City's Blessing, though. Kells could get indestructible by sacking Twilight Prophet. So I guess if I just play Twilight Prophet, they can Mythos. But it's going to be a Mythos with lifelink? The fact that it's a Mythos with lifelink means I think I'm going to go for the Innocent Blood trade here. But I don't love it. In fact, I don't even like it, but I think it's our best bet. Consuming Blob coming up, that's going to be helpful. Luca Coppercoat Outcasts. They could make a Samurai and then sack this.
I have enhanced my tactics.
Did they just exile 3? Creature cards exiled can be cast as long as you control Lucas. Yeah, they just exiled 3. Cool, so we're good for now. Ooh, Null Priest is a good draw. I can Null Priest pick up Shatterfang or Tireless Provisioner or Kells. Or I can just play a Blob. I think I'm just going to play a Blob. Honestly, it's 2 4/5s. And then if they kill it, I can just Null Priest that and get 2 more 4/5s. Like, it's lethal by itself. I just click the button, I have lethal on board. Nice and simple. Alright, they're going to exile, they're going to polymorph here, look for a random creature, find a twin shot sniper, not good enough to kill anything on board, and they're just going to scoop them up. Alright. Not what I expected to see from the red-white deck. But this is the Tinkerer's Cube, so you're supposed to expect the unexpected and expect all kinds of weird stuff. Pretty worried early in that game. I was like, Boros, this is going to be super aggro, we're just going to die real quick. And then just played like some value spells, some 2-for-1 removal and stuff. Really cool deck. A lot of strong cards for sure. Yeah, and then I thought the Mythos would be bad because they'd followed up with a bunch of big stuff, but it was kind of just some random stuff that didn't get its maximum synergy value together. Kind of just drawing like the wrong cards in the wrong order kind of stuff you expect out of the Tinkerer's Cube at times. So we just kept playing big, spooky beef. Just playing Kells as a 4-3 menace is enough to get a lot of damage in, and we're going to find a 7-0 run for the Tinkerer's Cube draft of April 2023. So pretty sweet stuff. I had a lot more fun than I expected I would, because I'm not the biggest fan of Tinkerer's Cube, as I've said before. Much bigger fan of the regular Arena Cube, where you get to build some really competitive, almost like constructed level decks. Tinkerer's Cube, again, pretty high variance. You can definitely draw some cards in some really bad orders, because a lot of the cards are really, really narrow and focused on specific scenarios or specific other cards to make them good, but this deck ended up being super consistent. I just really liked the overlap of a lot of the cards, where they synergized with so many different things. again, the main one that really showed off that was the old Rutstein. Like the Rutstein, the fact that this synergized with Self-Mill for the Consuming Blob, for the Null Priest, for the Sir Conrad, while also synergizing with token production for Chatterfang or any of the sacrifice effects, was like really, really cool. So finding these cards that like overlap as multiple synergies, that ended up being super, super helpful. And a lot of the cards did kind of play out a bit like that, where they were great with many other cards in the deck. Twilight Prophet as well. All the token production made Chatterfang better and made the Twilight Prophet better, so that was pretty cool. Yeah, a lot of just cross archetype synergy kind of things. Again, Jadar fitting token production and sacrifice themes. Great stuff from the deck all around. And then we just had big bombs. Ormondal Profane Prince just kind of won a lot of games out of nowhere, as it does. If we've got 5 creatures on board and our opponent's at 9 or less, it's just like, okay, we'll flip that thing. Yeah, I don't think there were any underperformers. I think everything in the deck worked pretty. I guess Innocent Blood was kind of an underperformer. Never ended up being really good. Same with Collective Brutality, but part of that is my fault. Deadly Dispute also, we had it sometimes with very few tokens, or we just didn't have the time to play draw spells. These were probably the underperformers, but I think with Collective Brutality, that was just because I'm not good at playing the card and knowing when to discard and what abilities to choose. But I think we missed on a Brutality, had an opponent with nothing in their hand, no instants and sorceries, and also just the -2/-2. There were a lot of positions where that wouldn't kill a lot of cards. But overall, obviously, going 7-0, you can't be unhappy about that. It's literally impossible. And I think we gotta say that pretty much everything in the deck worked pretty well if we didn't drop a single game. Well, that's going to end today's draft, but I will make sure to get at least one more Tinkerer's Cube draft video up on the channel. On Thursday, though, thanks to Wizards of the Coast for the early access account, we will be playing the March of the Machine early access event, so the daily March of the Machine videos will start then. So only a couple Tinkerer's Cube drafts for the channel this time around. But that is going to end today's video. As always, I'd like to thank my patrons very much for supporting the channel, and thank you for watching. If you're interested in seeing more videos like this, you can always like, comment, and subscribe to tell the YouTube algorithm to send you some more. If you'd like to catch me live, you can check out the Twitch channel in the link in the description below. And if you'd like to support the channel directly, you can check out the Patreon link in the description below. Other than that, as always, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you again soon for some more Magic Arena.